spoilers. Need I say more? What's up, guys? Pencil here, and here we are to do a breakdown / discussion of the chapter 231 spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen, which is probably known as like the battle in the demon-infested Shinjuku Part 9. I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's round 2. I have no idea. Nope, it literally is. I don't know. I cannot read Japanese still, but there's a number 9. And knowing Gege's lack of care for actually naming the chapters anything different, it's the battle in the demon-infested Shinjuku Part 9. So, let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. So, what's up, guys? Zach with the Pencil here. And, as you know, for a fact, I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And this chapter, it's nice. Here's the thing, right? This chapter is kind of what I was hoping for more of than the last couple chapters of domain. So, like, I like this chapter a lot. I understand why other people, because I've already seen, I'll admit, when I was going to go find the Raws for this chapter, I already seen people complaining, and I can understand why people are complaining. In a way, I don't know, not really. I don't know. Maybe because I just really like this kind of combat in comparison to domain. Like, maybe that's just me, but let's not waste more time. Let's hop right into it. So we open up, and we do get to see that Kusakabe is like, ayo, let me level with y'all real quick. Have any of y'all, like, actually been hit by Satoru Gojo? Like, actually, like, has he ever punched you? And we see that certain characters have, supposedly. I wholeheartedly refuse to believe Panda. When Panda says Gojo tried to hit him, but he missed, I wholeheartedly do not believe him. I think he's a stone-cold liar. A stone-cold liar. That waste of space definitely would have been tagged by Satoru Gojo if Geto slammed him. So I don't want to hear it, Panda. I know where you stay at. I hope you know that. Don't ever make me hop up in that manga, bro. Don't ever make me do that. I was in a good mood this morning. I was ready to read some JJK leaks. Only for you to open up and almost instantaneously ruin my day. I can't wait till Sukuna eats you, bro. I hope Yuji eats you instead. That would actually be some genuine retribution. Forget it. Now I gotta keep it on me. Now I gotta keep an extra one on me. I already got the regular thing on me. Now I gotta keep an extra thing on me because it's early in the morning. I'm already nettled. There's no way. I refuse to believe, because Kusakabe ass seriously punched and Panda says, oh, he tried, but he couldn't hit. Yeah, okay. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Yuta says he got hit by the limitless once, but not actually that seriously. I wonder what the context of that was. Like, they were likely sparring, I guess. But, like, what of the limitless was he hit by? Like, presumably it was just a punch, because that's what they're talking about right now. But it's interesting that Yuta says he got hit with limitless once. And once again, for the infinite Yuta bag, because, you know, I always talk about Yuta because, you know, I love the man. Like, shock horror, I wouldn't talk about a character I don't like that much. How many Reggie videos have you seen me make? How many Hearts videos have you seen me make? If I don't like a character, I won't talk about him. But I wonder in what context that the Boundless Bagman Yuta was hit with limitless, and if he knows it. Because here's the thing, right? There's this common consensus amongst the community that Yuta he has to know more. Like, he can't just know not curse spirit manipulation. He should know that. He should know that. But he can't just know curse speech Drew Shikigami technique and sky manipulation. People around the whole thing, we've all agreed that that can't be the case. And one of the biggest things that's been up in the air about Yuta is limitless, because he's seen it. He's seen it a whole bunch, right? Like, even if he can't copy the whole technique, like, I don't expect Yuta to suddenly fall from the heavens using sky manipulation and be like, hollow purple. Like, I don't expect bro to come out and do that, but he should at least have, like, the neutral limitless. If Teen Gojo could do it, and Teen Gojo is a prodigy, I swear I can English. If Teen Gojo can do it, and Gojo's a prodigy, Yuta's like a mega prodigy, so he should at least be able to do the neutral limitless. We know that you can use the limitless without the 6 eyes. It's just super inefficient. That's the thing. The 6 eyes are not a requirement for the utilization of the limitless. The limitless can be born into the Gojo clan without the 6 eyes, and the 6 eyes can be born into the Gojo clan without the limitless. Gojo's the exception, like the super duper exception. Like later on in this chapter, I'm going to talk about like super duper exception Gojo is, because there's something that's been sticking on my mind, but I keep forgetting to mention. But I really hope Yuta has limitless, like for his sake and mine. For his sake and mine. But it would make sense. Like, he's been hit by it. He's constantly spent time around Gojo. He likely trained with Gojo. Once he figured out that his technique was mimicry, I feel like that should have been like one of the first things he got down. Even if he can only use it like once, or he can only use it for the 5 minutes that he can regularly use his technique, or even 1 minute of the 5 minutes. Having the limitless, even being able to toggle it on and off, would be a massive buff for Yuta. Does it fix everything Yuta needs in terms of like getting him up there higher? Maybe. If he can use blue in the same way that Gojo uses blue to like propel himself, and use red to propel himself essentially, then maybe. But I don't know. I think Yuta, once again, he's lacking that AP, but he can make up. He has answers to the AP though. I think Thin Icebreaker and a hypothetical utilization of the limitless can be enough to make up for Yuta's AP. The main thing he's lacking is speed. So if he can use limitless to make up for his speed, I'm slowing bro in the top 5. But with that being the case, we see that since he got hit with limitless once, Kusakabe decides to explain that, well, the way that Gojo uses the limitless in order to make his punches kind of like a super punch is that he uses blue, the effect of blue, with his fist as he reinforces his fist with cursed energy. So essentially, blue, since it draws things towards you and his fist is already enhanced, it kind of just... So it's like pulling... Like, imagine if, as you punch somebody, someone pushed them into you. That's pretty much what Gojo does. However, I don't think this is everything. Notably, when Kusakabe says this, I don't think this is everything that Gojo does. Mainly because it sounds too simple. I know that sounds crazy, but it sounds too simple. Because remember, Urume, like, I'm not sure how long it is after their encounter, because once again, we don't know Urume's gender. But I don't know how long it is after their encounter with Gojo in 221. But remember, Urume is like, I used RCT, but the way that man hit me still hurts. Like, I don't think just an application of blue over the top of his fist would do that. Like, I get it. It should likely do some internal organ damage. Like, if blue is like concentrated around his fist, literally overlapped as it's drawing you in, it's likely like manipulating your organs a little bit. Like, it's probably pulling them in places they don't want to be. Like, obviously that would still hurt, but even then, RCT should take care of that. So the fact that Urume, an RCT user, a pretty high caliber too. Like, remember, Urume kind of just piercing blood right back to a normal hand. If at least a day later, after using RCT, is still feeling pain from one of Gojo's just regular blue punches, I feel like there's more to it. It's got to be like Gojo literally rearranges your guts a little bit, or rearranges your atoms or something like that, because there's no way it's that simple. Like, a lot of people have already theorized this too. Like, a lot of people have already come with the idea that the way Gojo enhances his speed in those times where he'll just seemingly blitz Sukuna out of nowhere, even though they're usually going relative, is because Gojo's using the limitless, whether it be blue or red. So he just pick up the pace a little bit, because he can use it on himself with pretty much no drawbacks. I highly doubt Gojo feels anything from using it on himself. But with that being the case, Hikari admits that it's like, when you get hit by Gojo, it's pretty much like getting hit by something that hits harder than a normal punch. So a kick. Now, but once again, I think there's something special about it. And especially considering it was able to make Yuta hurl. Like, Hikari hurling, I mean, don't get me wrong. Base Sakari is still a very, very impressive character. I'd say Base Sakari is probably a top 25-ish character, top 20 character in the verse. Maybe. I don't know, because I don't think Jogo's top 17. Can I name 8 characters stronger than Hikari, but weaker, stronger than base Hikari, but weaker than Jogo? I'm not sure I can do that. So yeah, he's likely a top 20, maybe top 25 character in the verse. But the main point of interest is Yuta. Because personally, like, despite me clowning on Yuta a whole bunch, I'm kidding, but despite me clowning on Yuta a whole bunch, I do believe he's like verbatim, probably the second or third, probably third, or if we're being really, really ungenerous to Yuta, the 4th most bulky character in the series just by like cursed energy amount. Because we know the amount of cursed energy you have directly correlates to your bulk. So like Yuta should be omega bulky. And like we literally see this. He's able to eat for the most part. Once Ryu starts blasting, then Yuta's hands get like charred and vaporized. But like Yuta should be the well, obviously Rika too. Rika's bulkier than him. But man, is he like only top 5? Because the characters I'm thinking of, obviously Gojo's gonna be bulkier because it's just Satoru Gojo. It doesn't really matter. Yuta could never. Then obviously Sukuna. Then I think Kenjaku. I know this sounds crazy, but I do genuinely believe Kenjaku has more curse energy than Yuta. And the reason I say that is because you got to remember, throughout the whole Yuki fight, he wasn't spamming a regular technique. He was spamming RCT. He opened up with RCT to heal his arms off, and then he ended up using RCT a bunch to fuel his regular technique. Then he ended up using domain expansion, and presumably that was a reverse curse domain, because unless, who knows, maybe Kaori's technique, the anti-gravity engine, maybe that just was the basic domain of it. But presumably, considering it is anti-gravity engine, and it seems like the domain was a gravity engine and it slammed Yuki into the ground, I'm presuming that was fueled by RCT too. And we know Yuta, after like, he used RCT against Kuro, he used RCT a bit more against Kuro in terms of an output blast. Once again, he's not fueling it, he's not fueling any techniques with RCT, he's just using basic RCT to heal and stuff like that. And then he uses it against Uro, once Uro uses it to send Bro flying, and then he uses it against Ryu once Ryu sends Bro flying, and then he uses it again against Ryu, I'm pretty sure. So like 5 uses of RCT, and Yuta's already starting to bottom out. Meanwhile, Kenjaku's opening up with RCT, healing off literal arm snapping and locking them back in, using a reverse curse domain, using a curse technique reversal, like, I don't know, wasn't it like 5 or 6 times in the Kenjaku Choso and Yuki fight? Like, he uses it a lot. And then he still had enough RCT, well, not even RCT, regular CE, to utilize the base variation of anti-gravity engine to counter a black hole. And to be fair, he was beat up a bit at the end of that, but he wasn't too worse for it. And that was on top of 2 mini Uzumakis. Like, Kenjaku very likely has more curse energy than Yuta, so he probably should be bulkier, in my opinion. But Yuta still being top 5 in terms of bulk, and Gojo just, like, I highly doubt Gojo was swinging full bloodlusted on Yuta. I don't think that's how that happened. So Gojo playing around with Yuta punches him in the gut, and Yuta's like, and just loses it everywhere. So that is very, very impressive. I still think there's more to it, though. I think Kusakabe doesn't know the full story. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets revealed that, like, there's an extra layer to this, because it seems too simple. You can't, I don't know, unless it's revealed that the blue literally does cause, like, an organ shifting effect based on, like, how it pulls you towards him. It can't be that simple. But with that being the case, we see that Itadori gets a flashback to a certain man, a certain myth, a certain legend. Nanami, bro. Nanami. You know the crazy thing is, I think Nanami was Gege's favorite character. I think that was stated somewhere. You know who isn't in the narrative anymore? Nanami. You know who is still in the narrative after all this time? Panda. Do you understand why I don't like Panda? It's not truly out of a deep-seated malice for endangered animals. Trust me, it's not. What I despise about Panda is that he has likely had more screen time at this point than Nanami. More screen time at this point than Nobara. More screen time at this point than Yuki Tsukumo. Characters with infinitely more depth, infinitely more potential, and infinitely more interest on my end have been sidelined, executed, and wasted. And here we have this filthy, disgusting beast of a creature still here, still breathing. But he won't be doing that for long. No, I'm kidding. Okay, well, no, I'm not kidding about that is kind of low-key the reason I don't like Panda. It is straight up a fact that, like, hey, yo, bro, like, you can't, why do you still exist when they don't? But we do get a flashback to Nanami, and apparently Yuji told Nanami, like, hey, yo, whatever you do, don't ever try to compare yourself to that thing. That thing known as Satoru Gojo, because it's basically like nonsense. Like, it is kind of impossible, right? Like, it's crazy to think about, but, like, look at what Gojo's doing to the King of Curses. The King of Curses. Like, realize we are not in the golden age of Jujutsu anymore. The golden age ended 1,000 years ago. But we have Gojo, a 28-year-old, with the Limitless and the 6 Eyes, pull it up and putting in work. Like, work. That is crazy. Like, no, once again, no other sorcerer ever. Like, not even no other sorcerer. No other sorcerer from the Heian era, from the modern era, from any era. You throw them all together and they still aren't doing this well. Most sorcerers, you could probably get all the sorcerers in the same room. Get your Kashimos, get your Kenjakus, get your Hikaris, make them jackpot, get your Makis, get your Tojis, get your Yuta. If 20 Finger Sukuna opens up Malevolent Shrine, they all drop. One way or another. That is it. They all drop. Unless their name is Satoru Gojo. So yeah, Satoru Gojo is different. Like, I understand why Nanami, like, early on was like, hey, yo, do not. Don't stress yourself like that. Do not try to compare yourself to that thing, because it's just too much. It is literally you are always going to come up short when it comes to Satoru Gojo, which is why the more and more I hear of this, and the more and more I see of Gojo, the less and less I believe that any of his students will ever actually catch up to him. Because, like, how? How? Unless, once again, the only one I can remotely see, maybe, is Yuta. And the reason I say that is because he literally needs to, like, jack the Limitless. He needs to jack the Limitless and figure out a way to bypass that 5-minute time limit. Because here's the thing. If Yuta didn't have that 5-minute time limit, and he did just have infinite access to the endless cursed energy storage that is Rika, then I think he doesn't need the 6 Eyes to do a bootleg version of the Limitless. Sure, would it be as efficient? No. Would it be as powerful? Probably not. But still, it's something he could do consistently. But unfortunately, he just doesn't have that. And we see that Ino's a little bit sad at the mention of Nana, because, you know, that was his boy, you know. But then again, once again, remember, there's still certain things that got, like, lightly teased in 222. Like, Ino apparently had something to say to Gojo. What it was, we don't know yet. But with that being the case, we do cut back to Gojo versus Sukuna itself. And Sukuna, heaven forbid, bro. Like, here's the thing. I thought at the end of last chapter, when Sukuna got, realistically, he literally just got. I thought bro was gonna, like, recover a little bit. I thought he was gonna put up a little bit of, no, Gojo literally, like, drags him seemingly through multiple buildings, grabs Sukuna by the shirt, and just yeet. Like, that is crazy. That is absolutely insane. Like, I get it. Once again, Sukuna hasn't, this is the point, this is the big issue. Sukuna has no reason to be pressed. Like, right now, like, here's the thing, even as a Gojo Blazer, Sukuna has no reason to be pressed now. Because unless Gojo throws a purple at him, none of this matters. No, like, as much as I love Gojo, he is not beating Sukuna with fisticuffs. Like, he just simply is not. Sukuna is eating all those for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if Gojo is using things like the blue curse energy manipulation, one by one, since Sukuna now actually has the wheel spinning above his head, one by one, those things are going to get invalidated. Though, admittedly, once again, it's going to be invalidated for Mahoraga, right? Like, Sukuna doesn't actually adapt. Like, I don't think Sukuna himself is actually going to gain an immunity to the limitless. Like, I know last chapter he said, soon I'm going to adapt to your little limitless too. But, like, it's only for Mahoraga. Like, the user doesn't adapt. I don't think they do, right? Because, like, I don't think. Because then why would he need to swap out in the Yorozu fight? Like, if he already adapted to creation and he could keep that adaptation for himself, there's no need to summon Mahoraga. Just stay in and, like, face tank the perfect spear. So I do think it's solely for Mahoraga. But the thing is, right, if Mahoraga is so booty meat that it is still in one-shot range by Gojo, which is crazy to me. Like, that is straight up crazy to me. Amped, in my opinion, he's amped. I know a lot of people were having discussions and debates and deliberation on whether or not Mahoraga is amped by 20 Finger Sukuna. I'm sorry, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't be amped by 20 Finger Sukuna, but even if he isn't, the fact that Mahoraga is still in one-shot range is kind of embarrassing. So, like, bring him out. Okay. Unless, because here's the thing, right? In the raws I have, the pseudo translation I get, do use the term infinity, the neutral limitless. But once again, I don't get how that works. Because you would think, like, at least from my understanding, Mahoraga needs to adapt to attacks launched against it. The neutral limitless isn't an attack, it's a barrier. So, like, how could Mahoraga adapt to that? Because, like, I mean, the only way I could see it is if Gojo uses the neutral limitless like he used it against Hanami. Like, when Gojo was, admittedly, going to Boca Loca, and, like, started just, like straight hench flexing against Hanami. That's the only way I can see Mahoraga gaining adaptation, but I think Gojo knows better than to do that. Especially considering he has no reason to. Like, notably, I think Sukuna's domain amplification is always enough to break through Gojo's limitless. So I think Gojo knows better than to do that. So I don't think Mahoraga can ever truly be useful. Especially considering, like, worst comes to worst, we gotta remember, Gojo hasn't been doing it, but there's no reason for him to stay in one area. Literally just grab Sukuna and teleport. Like, remember, Gojo at the start of the series could teleport from wherever he was fighting Jogo all the way back to where Yuji was watching movies and bring him back in an instant. So, like, Sukuna drops a Mahoraga, laughs in Gojo's face. The wheel is now off Sukuna's head. Gojo grabs Sukuna and just leaves. Just take him to a whole nother part. Sure, Mahoraga can chase. Mahoraga likely has the perception abilities to find them. But, like, presumably Gojo's still going to be much faster and much stronger than Mahoraga if Mahoraga's still in one-shot territory. So I'm not sure. Once again, Mahoraga's a little bit... I don't want to say Mahoraga's a bit disappointing. But I think the way Sukuna's been using the 10 shadows is a little bit disappointing. But remember, for Huffin Sukuna Copium, we still do not know the last 10 shadow. We have 9. We have Divine Dog, we have Nue, we have Max Elephant, we have... The Serpent is gone. The Serpent got annihilated. We have Divine Dog, Nue, Max Elephant, Serpent, Tranquil Deer, Rabbit Escape, Raging Bull, or whatever it's called, the Frog, Shikigami, and Mahoraga. We have those are the 9 we have right now. We still do not know the last 10 shadow. And considering no one's even been able to tame Mahoraga and the last 10 shadow hasn't even really gotten a mention, I wouldn't be shocked if that was a complete unknown. I wouldn't be shocked, once again, if Mahoraga just ends up getting sacked so all the Shikigami can be brought into the fight. Like, if I had to take a guess, Sukuna is going to be forced to bring out Mahoraga early. And then Gojo, being Gojo, is going to be like, Mahoraga is the most dangerous thing in this kit. Let me one-shot it. Forgetting about the totality. And then what's going to happen for the totality of Mahoraga's destruction specifically is that the trickle-down effect will lead to all the other Shikigami naturally being able to bypass the Limitless. And, like, they'll all get a massive amp, and then we'll finally be able to see Gojo fight the Limitless. Because that's the big thing. Like, I'm working on a video, because of course I am. I'm working on a video of, like, how I would write Gojo versus Sukuna. And one of the ways that I was... Like, I understand why Gege's struggling to incorporate the 10 shadows. Because the neutral Limitless sucks for writing extended fights. Like, it just does. The reason Gojo's fights are never that long up until this point in the series is because, like, it's just really hard to write around. Like, because you can't use domain to write around it, because then other things can exist within domains, like Sukuna's. That's just how it be. Unless you make the rule that, you know, things within Sukuna's domain that are summoned by Sukuna are immune to Cleaving This Mantle. But that hasn't been set up yet, at least as far as I know. So you'd have to introduce that rule. And with that being the case, hopefully something like that, the trickle-down effect of Mahoraga, could be a good way to bring everything in there and see Gojo really have to clutch out. Though admittedly, if they've already adapted the Limitless, I'm not exactly sure how Gojo's gonna defeat them. He may have to literally just tear through them physically, which would be interesting to see. I'd love to see Gojo, like, drop kick through New Way. But with it being the case, Gojo grabs Sukuna by the collar and launches that man. However, Sukuna instantly recovers. Because, you know, once again, Sukuna is... He hasn't been going absolutely crazy physically. Like, he has been getting boxed on a little bit. And he still only has 2 arms, but still Sukuna. Like, he's more than solid enough to take a little throwing around. And we see Gojo is now, once again, since his domain is locked off, he's using basic applications of the Limitless. He uses blue, I do believe. Yeah, because it's the Gigasuk. He uses the Gigasuk. He clenches his hand real good, and all the debris collides around Sukuna. Once again, I think this is low-key kind of just a mistake. I think in this scenario, like, if I'm Gojo looking at Sukuna in this scenario, I got 2 questions. Number 1. Actually, no. I already have the answer to one of the questions. I know Sukuna's too durable to take damage from something like this. Like, you just know. Gojo's been fighting Sukuna for how long now? He should know that regular little stuff like this is just not going to work. Like, it straight up is pretty much invalid. So the fact that he's still using things like, I'm gonna crush him with debris, like, that's a little bit dumb. I honestly, if I'm Gojo, the thing I want to test is, like, how tightly is that wheel bound to your head? How durable is it? Because, like, the thing, we don't know, can you destroy the wheel? Like, obviously, it's with this treasure I summon, but, like, is the Dharma wheel indestructible? What happens if you hit that thing with a purple? Like, if Sukuna, King of Curses, is able to take damage from Gojo and his purples, presumably, if red can do damage and whatever Sukuna was getting hit by in domain, if that can do damage, then what happens if a red, or preferably a purple, because, you know, purple's purple, but what happens if a purple hits that wheel? Is the wheel itself indestructible? Because notably, Gojo and Sukuna both believe that Mahoraga is still in one-shot range. Like, I was expecting a lot more from Mahoraga. I thought he'd be adapted a little bit or something like that. But no, Mahoraga is still verbatim in one-shot range. So, like, is the wheel, like, infinitely more durable than Mahoraga? If it isn't, just attack it. Like, legit, just attack the wheel. Because notably, attacking Sukuna while he has the wheel just gives him more and more chances to adapt to the Limitless. Every application of blue, every application of red, every application of anything Limitless based on Sukuna while he has the wheel is ultimately just going to make Sukuna more effective at fighting you. So if I'm Gojo, I'm going to try and attack the wheel specifically. Like, literally see if I can tear it off. Like, in that scenario where he grabbed Sukuna by the collar, instead of grabbing Sukuna by the collar, as I punch, I'm reaching for the wheel and I'm trying to yank it away. Like, presumably, you could do, once again, like Gojo's using red and blue to enhance his punches. He could hypothetically, like, grab the wheel and then use red through his feet to repel himself away from Sukuna and just try and yank the wheel off. Like, I'm not sure how the wheel works in terms of, like, its magnetism above Sukuna's head, but, like, right now is the time to experiment. While both of you are down domain and he's currently adapting to your entire kit, all 3 of it, because what? Red, blue, purple. That's Gojo's whole kit. It's very, very effective, but that's Gojo's whole kit. You might as well experiment with the one thing that you aren't sure is kind of just going to be able to eat all your hits. Sukuna is going to be able to, like, Sukuna's going to munch, regardless. But I think now would be the time to see if the wheel can munch as good as Sukuna can. Because I don't think it can. I think you could legitimately destroy it. But Gojo uses blue once again. He crushes the debris in on Sukuna. But Sukuna's like, who do you think you are, bro? You know I ain't falling for that. And he immediately tears out of the debris. And we see that Gojo, expecting this, goes to step on Sukuna. And now, I know you, devious individual. I know a whole bunch of you wish you were Sukuna in that moment. Huh? Being stepped on by Gojo, I've seen it. I've seen y'all. I've seen you. You diabolical individual. You down bad atrocious individuals. But we see as Sukuna's about to get stomped on. It seems like I'm not sure what this is. There's like a dark circle on the panel to the left of Sukuna about to get stepped on, but seemingly not. Like, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if that means anything. But as Sukuna's about to get stepped on, we see the Dharma wheel above his head turn black. He does this this is actually kind of crazy. So Sukuna is lunging out of the blue ball. I can say that, right? Yeah, he's lunging out of the blue ball. He's diving forward. Gojo goes to step on his head. Sukuna goes fully into a front flip and then lets the wheel go black and proceeds to flip over Gojo's stomp and go to like stomp on Gojo's head. One of the smoothest maneuvers I've ever seen. But we see as Sukuna goes for the stomp, obviously he's not gonna hit Gojo, and Gojo starts. We've been getting like little Hunter x Hunter references throughout this fight already. Like, obviously, if you go back to 224, is it 2? Well, no, I think it's actually 223. You get the Jaja Ken reference, the rock paper scissors reference. Gojo literally goes to use rock. But I guess bro was really stealing from both of them, because now he hits the Killua afterimage. Like, I think this literally is straight up verbatim the Killua pose. And you get multiple Gojos all stepping around Sukuna, which is very, very impressive. Like, presumably this is just raw speed. Like, Gojo's moving so fast that we're able to perceive multiple variations of him at once. I know this is some of y'all's favorite fantasy. Multiple Gojos all tag teaming you. I know you all. But with that being the case, the wheel turning black is interesting. It's very, very interesting, because why doesn't it just disappear? Like, how can it just turn black for a short period of time? And in a time like this, when the wheel is black, wouldn't this be the most optimal time to hit him with a perp? Or hit him with, like, that in this time period? I think that would, because here's the thing, Gojo has a 6 eyes. Gojo's 6 eyes give him all the deets. Gives him all the info he could possibly want on any scenario that has to do with his opponents. So in this scenario, wouldn't the 6 eyes be telling him, hey, the 10 shadows is shut down? Or not literally, the 10 shadows is shut down. Do what you will with that information. Like, I don't think, like, I'll admit it is cool to see Gojo go into Shadow Clone Jutsu or the afterimage technique and go into swing on Sukuna. But I think at this point, now would be the kind of time to, while the wheel is black and while Gojo presumably knows that it's not active, hit him with a red. Hit him with a blue. Well, maybe not blue. I don't think blue's that effective. But hit him with perp. Like, I'm not sure what the wind-up time for perp is. We have not seen perp since the start of the battle, which is now 9 chapters ago. So we have not seen perp. So maybe perp has too much startup lag. But I think now's the time to, like, hit Sukuna with something more fancy than a simple swing. And we see that Sukuna is actually able to respond to the real Gojo, which is once again, very impressive for Sukuna. It sounds so weird saying very impressive for Sukuna, like he's not the king of curses. But he does manage to react to the real Gojo. And notably, since the wheel is still black above his head, the limitless is off. And we see Gojo be a little bit shocked that his countering technique or his afterimage technique does get so easily read, and Sukuna does manage to punch him pretty far away. However, very impressive for Gojo, once again, considering Sukuna should be hitting with a whole ton of force. Gojo manages to react to, grab the top of a traffic light, and flip on top of it. Shouts to this traffic light for still even being intact. I guess they moved away from the Malevolent Shrine area of damage, because it's still intact. And we see him flip and squat right on top of it. A lot of people have already called this the Itachi pose, and, like, I guess it kind of is. He's posted up on a high image or on a high fixture and is like, Bro's like, I gotta do this for the clan. like bro is posted up like that. And we see that the wheel has now regained its color. It's no longer black. And guess no, let me not make that joke. Let me not, you know the kind of joke I was gonna make. I'm not gonna make that joke. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Mahoraga adapts when it receives an attack from the opponent and the wheel turns a spin. Gojo notices that the wheel turns black when Sukuna is using domain amplification. At that time, it cannot adapt. So the reason Sukuna can use domain amplification is because the damage part of the brain is only for domain. So domain amplification, despite having domain in the title, doesn't actually have anything to do with domain. It's pretty much, it may be like baby steps related, but considering it's a generic technique, it doesn't affect that at all. You know, it's actually kind of interesting to me that they can use curse techniques at all. Because at least for Gojo, maybe Sukuna makes sense because his brain damage is not just from the fact that he's been restoring his curse technique post-domain, but his brain damage is also from Unlimited Void. So maybe it makes sense that Sukuna can still use his techniques, or the 10 Shadows at least, but I'm sure Gojo can use his. Because isn't the whole reason he can't use DE is because the part of his brain that has, or no, prefrontal cortex on the right side. So like the part of his brain that has the limitless isn't that off or like super duper fried right now. So I guess domain is just maybe too high level. He's able to use lower stuff, but that's very, very interesting. And we see that Sukuna and Gojo kind of just sit there and have a little bit of a standoff. And we see that the wheel does in fact click, which is kind of concerning. Presumably it has adapted to blue? I think it's the most that was used on Gojo, or on Sukuna this chapter in particular. I don't think it's adapted to the infinity yet, because I think that would be a much more like big thing, but it does appear that it swings and it adapts likely to blue. So I think blue is now off the table for Gojo. So with that being the case, we see that since Gojo knows that the wheel is there and he's not trying to mess with it, once again, I would, just me experimenting, maybe Gojo with the 6 eyes can tell it's impossible, but at least experimenting, I would have tried to break the darn thing. Like, I don't know, if Mahoraga ain't that durable, I doubt that treasure is. Give it to me, I'd try and tear it apart. But we see that Sukuna even notices that Gojo's only trying to use simple techniques in order to avoid Mahoraga's wheel getting adapted. But once again, I think that's not the smart thing to do, because if it works in the way I think it works, the way the wheel works is that it doesn't just adapt to what techniques are used against it. What ended up happening in the Yorozu fight is that Sukuna adapted to creation. Anything marked with Yorozu's cursed energy, anything born of creation, Mahoraga gained an immunity to despite not being hit by it. Sukuna was never hit by Perfect Spear. He never was. But Mahoraga, after getting hit by the bug armor, after getting hit by the metal, after getting hit by all those different things that were already born of creation, he ended up adapting for Mahoraga to creation itself. So when Mahoraga came out, it could just, oh, that's creation? But it just stab into the orb. And then he was good. So for this case, I think Gojo using simple techniques, even if it's to avoid the more complex ones getting adapted, every single bit that he stalls, every little bit of the limitless that he introduces to the wheel is going to have it adapt generally to the limitless itself, which is not good. Not good. Which is why I think he should, once again, he either has to go for the wheel or he has to go big. He can't play around. Essentially, this is a bit too dangerous. Before, when the wheel was away or in the shadow, and I guess not adapting for Sukuna, or based on what hits Sukuna took, you could risk playing around a little bit more. You could play the long game, play the stamina game. But now, I think you do need to just hit him with everything you've got. Hit him with purples. Hit him in the face. Smack him in the mouth. Like, legitimately, just do everything in your power to get Sukuna up out of here, or get the wheel up out of here as quickly as possible. And we do get to see that upon the traffic light, I guess these things still have power, that's very impressive, but upon the traffic light turning green, they immediately go right back to fisticuffing. And they match, going word for word, bar for bar. They clash fists seemingly. Gojo uses, he gets the gripper up, he gets the gripper going, and he proceeds to grab, like, I'm guessing what happens here is that Gojo grabs the traffic light with blue, because once again, I'm guessing, if I had to take a guess, Sukuna's already adapted to blue, so he uses the traffic light instead to try and yank it towards Sukuna. But once again, Gojo, I'm your glazer, dog. But this is Sukuna, bro. A little traffic light being thrown at his head is not going to do anything. And Sukuna grabs the traffic light. This is the most Megami looking panel of Sukuna that we've gotten in a minute. Like, this generally looks like Megami. But he grabs the traffic light and throws it at Gojo. But considering Gojo has the limitless, it doesn't really matter. Like, unless Sukuna was able to use domain amplification on the traffic light, it's not going to matter. But with it being the case, everyone is theory crafted. Yeah, have you just given up drawing May's hair? Like, that's not May. Like, there used to be detail on her hair, bro. It wasn't just like, there's like a lump of spaghetti on her head now. But at least spaghetti, like a whole, like it's like a big old noodle. It's just like smacked over her forehead. Well, not just her forehead, like her whole face. Like, that is not May. But like, you could have drawn a few extra lines of detail. One of your assistants could do that. Come on now, Gege. But with that being the case, everyone's asking, like, okay, how many spins does it really take for this adaptation to occur? Because essentially, even if Mahoraga is low-key fodder, if it adapts to the limitless, Gojo can no longer one-shot it. And running a 2v1 is always more annoying, even if you're able to do it. Like, Ryu was able to run the 2v1 against Rika and Yuta. He was powerful enough that he could hit both for enough damage. He could punch Rika away, he could punch Yuta away, he could do both. But the issue was, simply fighting both of them at the same time is more annoying than fighting one. And since Gojo, if Mahoraga adapts everything, would lose any chance of one-shotting it and would have to focus all his attention on Sukuna, it would be annoying, especially if it adapts to every part of the limitless. Then a swing from Mahoraga's sword could pierce the neutral infinity. And even if it does minor damage, even if it does just bounce off of Gojo, an instant of stalling could lead to extreme damage for Gojo. So it is very concerning on whether or not it can be adapted too quickly or not, whether or not Gojo can beat the adaptation before it fully occurs. And we see that Gojo and Sukuna, like two Chads, they just start strolling around and philosophizing. Can you imagine? I don't know. I can't imagine fighting, like, my top op in literally all of existence and then just being like, in the middle of the fight, while we're both trying to heal our brain so we can immediately go back to doing domains. Like, I'm not sitting here and chat with you, bro. Like, these two are literally, like, hopping and chat. Which, once again, it makes sense. Like, I understand, and I think it adds a nice extra layer to this fight. Both of them, especially considering what the last chapter ends on, the quote from Yorozu, both of them are probably a little bit, they're feeling a little bit in love right now. You know what I'm talking about? Because we don't know Sukuna's history all too much. We don't know if he ever lost. But we know Gojo lost once in his life. And it wasn't on his own terms. Told you he came out of nowhere and snuck that man. But Gojo, for the last 10, 11 years of his life, has gone absolutely unchallenged. He's been a transcendent being. He's been lonely. Because once you're number one, the only thing you can do is look back at number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Same thing with Sukuna. He's always stood unrivaled at the pinnacle. I highly doubt in the 1,000 years that he's been around that he even remembers a time when a fight was actually interesting for him, where he actually had to be pushed or stressed. So I'm assuming that both of them are actually enjoying this battle a little bit, and that's why they can have these moments of calm. Like, they literally wait seemingly enough to cross the street for when the light changes. And I think those moments of, like, real genuine bonding between the two was actually kind of nice. It once again, it adds that extra human layer to these deities. Like, these are still people first and foremost. Yeah, sure, one is the embodiment of the limitless and the six eyes, a purveyor and protector of fate, and the other is the anomaly, the king of curses, the beast of 1,000 years, an imaginary war deity. But at the end of the day, it's still just people looking to enjoy life. And it's nice to see them being able to do that with each other. It's weird, because obviously, Sukuna's sitting in Megami's body and obviously trying to execute Gojo. And Gojo is trying to save his kid, presumably. But, I like it. Once again, little things like this. And Gojo explains that, oh, by the way, I do know that the wheel needs a total of 4 spins to completely adapt to the infinity. Though, once again, it says infinity, at least in the little translation chunk I got. It says infinity. I'm assuming that means limitless. I'm assuming it means limitless. I'm gonna assume. Because I still don't get how it's gonna adapt to the infinity unless it just adapts to the entirety of the limitless. We'll see. But that means that with only 1 click of the wheel, Gojo still has 3 more spins to go. And Sukuna laughs at Gojo and is like, dude, you do realize you're just gonna run out. You're gonna run out of time. You better hit me with a purple or something, dog. You better wipe that smile right off your face. And we see Gojo is one of the weirdest. He like, I don't know. Like, I've never looked the best whenever I smile. But Gojo, what is this big old cheeser, bro? What is this gigantic cheese you got on, bro? But he hits the biggest of smiles, and he says that he will execute Sukuna before Mahoraga's wheel adapts to his limitless in the next 3 counts. And that's it's a little bit interesting because the phrasing is what matters here. Because Hana points out, wait a minute. Did he say execute? He ain't forget about my man, did he? Now Hana, Megami was never your man, so chill out. And 2, I love how Yuji's like, baby. Like even he's like, he may have just forsaken me. Which is hilarious to me, but Yuji's like, yeah, Megami maybe does. It may be all Joe for now. Megami may be cut. It's absolutely hilarious to me. And we see Kashimo of all characters being like, yeah, it's okay. Let him forget. Let him forget about Megami. And Kashimo, I've been clowning on Kashimo for a minute now, but I do like that he's like, yeah, forget about it. I wonder how, I really do, I wish we could get like an internal monologue of Kashimo. I want to know how he feels, right? Because I know he said he would hop in, but like, does he really want to hop in on either of them when they're so fatigued? Like, I don't know. Kashimo doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would want a cheap shot. Like, if he does hop in now, both can't even use domains. They're super duper fatigued. Like, I don't know, Kashimo. How do you feel about this, bro? How do you feel about this? Are you really willing to hop in? But that's the end of the chapter. We are on break next week. I think all manga's on break next week, so that gives me time to do like general discussions of things I want to talk about for a while, so hallelujah. I know it's weird for me being happy that we're on break, but I'm happy to be on break. And overall, wait, this is not, ooh, I need to clean you. Oh, heavens, mercy, I need to clean you. I need to also fill you. But regardless, this chapter is worthy. At least by the spoilers alone. I know the dialogue is only going to make the chapter better for me. And it's going to clarify some things for me. But I really do like this chapter. Once again, because it feels like the level of battle, that playfulness, that destruction, that utilization of the environment, the creativity of both the users, from Gojo's Shadow Clone Jutsu to Sukuna's crazy flips and kicks. I love this kind of fighting. This is my favorite fight. Domain battles are cool and stuff like that. But one of my biggest issues with the domain battles we've been having is that we don't get to see much of it. Like, we get to see like maybe 1 or 2 throws or stuff like that, but then the domain breaks. And like, it's whatever. But seeing the strongest of the past and the present really like get active with each other, get a little bit creative, move and groove a little bit, have a bit of fun. I love that. And like I said, I love the humanization of these characters. Once again, we kind of chalk them up to their titles a lot of the time. The strongest sorcerer, the king of curses, the pinnacles of the verse. But these still are people. And seeing them have conversations, seeing them engage with each other on this regular, like I was about to say almost human, but no, genuinely human level is nice. I do love seeing these characters be characters and not just be reduced to big strong man. So overall, super duper W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please, what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below, where you can as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a very big thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Rebel 4765. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Alex Ice Rose, Art Goon, DemXLND, Midnight Gemlord, Rebel 4765, and Sean. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Demokami, Joaquin, and Robbie Uchiha. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.